Armored Core 3, Silent Line, Nexus, Ninebreaker, Formula Front, and Last Raven. These are the games contained within what people call the third generation of Armored Core, which is by far the largest one the series has ever received. So naturally, when approaching this behemoth of a generation, I should try to experience as much of it as I can. I played 2 of them. Listen, I just didn't have enough time to finish all of them before AC6 came out, so I had to compromise. I played the very first game, AC3, and the last game, Last Raven, before moving on to Generation 4. And I was really surprised, because these games actually didn't quite turn out to be how I expected them to be. I had always heard that the third generation was something special for many people, and that Fromsoft had sort of perfected the old generation formula with these games. So does that statement hold true? Let's have a look at what my Armored Core 3rd Gen experience looked like. Diving headfirst into Armored Core 3, the introductory mission is yet again another examination of my AC piloting skills. This establishes that we are yet another new AC pilot in this game, and connections to the previous games are going to be fairly loose, if any at all. Successfully completing this mission sees me officially becoming a Raven, and the game immediately puts me into the main menu screen. Well, this looks familiar. All the AC games I've played so far have had a very similar looking main menu screen. While each of the new generations started to add more things, the core of it has all stayed roughly the same since 1997. Armored Core 3 actually adds a very nice quality of life feature to the garage, which I'm honestly surprised that this hasn't been done in any of the previous games yet. You get to have up to 3 different save slots for your AC builds, being able to just quickly swap between them if you want to use a different loadout. Other than that, the structure of the menus is a little bit different, but again, the underlying systems at play here have largely remained the same. By this point, you should know what I'm about to do as my first operation after becoming a Raven. Oh dear Arena, my beloved, may you bring me insurmountable fame and wealth. As per usual, I started going through the arena, clearing out some of the early fights. Never mind, I thought he was gonna... Oh, Web just did some damage. Okay, this arena is not very easy to navigate, and he's very, very fast. After getting a little bit of money and checking out some parts in the shop, someone told me that I could get a secret part by getting a good score in the AC test. These early secret parts have managed to be a big help in the previous games, so going for this was a no-brainer. But it seems like I underestimated the difficulty of this challenge in my starting AC. Oh, there's so many here. Is it just... Oh no, oh, it's everywhere. Oh, I didn't see. Okay, well, we're gonna have to try this a couple times. That is not very good. There's so many. How many do you have to hit of these realistically to get a... I believe you get an A on the AC test, not the MT test, the other one. You get some legs. It's either get an A or get 100% accuracy with all weapons. Ooh, okay. Wait, what? Wait, what does that mean? So, 21 was a D, and 26 was an A? Don't really have a number to hit, but accuracy matters, so don't waste shots. Well, I got worse accuracy. Wait, so... Did I get it? Less accurate, but better result. How? Congratulations. Your test results are the best we've ever... If that was the best they've ever seen, I think I'm gonna be fine throughout the game. So what are those legs? Show me. Ooh. What can I say? I'm just built different. After this little excursion, I continued mowing down the weaker arena contestants until I made my way to the bottom of D rank. Here is where I finally decided to start tackling the missions, although a repeat of what happened in AC2 would have been pretty funny as well. This first mission is incredibly important. I have been tasked with taking care of a rising rebellion, which threatens the peace of Laird. How dare these underpaid and badly treated workers try to fight back in their company-issued MTs? I think they need to be taught a lesson. Guys, I have bad news for you. I have done it again. I have forgotten to equip a weapon. So, we're going in headfirst. We are going in headfirst. Our thanks. Good work, Raven. We appreciate your help. If a few factory jobs have to be sacrificed for the greater good of society, then so be it. Feeling accomplished after I sent these scoundrels to the Shadow Realm, I started taking on more and more missions for Global Cortex, yet again participating in the constant power struggle between the different corporations present in the game. But something about this game felt a little different from the previous entries in the Armored Core series that I had played. Armored Core 3 didn't feel as impactful, yet it was doing everything it was supposed to do perfectly fine. Great even. Playing through these missions was fun as always. Watching the story unfold and building up my reputation as a Raven felt rewarding. But it didn't feel as impactful as the other games that came before it. While I was in the conceptual phase for this video, I thought that I would just approach it the same way as I did my previous videos in the series. Basically taking you along on my journey of playing these games, talking about the individual missions, tackling the arena in weird and fun ways, and trying to figure out what was actually going on. But I quickly realized that I needed to treat this game differently, this video differently. I was genuinely having a hard time talking about this game. Just narrating through my playthrough felt wrong. So why is that? Does that mean I dislike Armored Core 3? No, it's quite the opposite actually. I really enjoyed playing through this game. It was a great experience, but one that I don't really feel the need to talk about. Again, Armored Core 3 didn't really feel impactful. I've said this a bunch of times now, compared to the other games, because it was just the best version of the same stuff I had already seen. The first AC game from 1997 was one that introduced me to the franchise, so it obviously felt special. There was no big change to how the game worked like I had experienced in Master of Arena, where the addition of the arena completely transformed my approach to playing these games. There was no obvious generational leap like I had experienced with Armored Core 2, improving a lot of systems and generally being more enjoyable to play. There was nothing inherently special about my Armored Core 3 playthrough. It was simply enjoyable. And as I've already talked about the other games at length, I don't feel the need to talk about this game in the same way. At the same time though, to any new player to the series wanting to check out the old generation of games, I would probably direct them to Armored Core 3 as it's just the best of the best from this era in my opinion. Funnily enough, I started to compare AC3 to Dark Souls 3 in my head. Dark Souls 1 and 2 have various qualities that make them really interesting to talk about individually, but Dark Souls 3 was basically just a greatest hits type game. DS3 takes all the lessons that Fromsoft had learned developing the other two games and put it to use in a manner that hardly evolved the series, but rather just gave the people more of what they probably wanted. This is pretty much how I feel about Armored Core 3. So I'm really sorry if you had hoped for a video in the same style as my others about this game, but I just couldn't bring myself to do that. Going into this video, you probably also wondered why is he talking about AC3 and Last Raven in the same video. And that is because Last Raven was a completely different game and is kind of the antithesis to what I just spent the last couple of minutes talking about. Since the third generation of AC games is so huge, with so many different games being made before the eventual release of the fourth gen, it really feels important to experience more than just one game. That is why I needed to also talk about Last Raven. And just if you are wondering, yes, I plan to come back to the other games I haven't played in the future, and I will most likely do some videos on those as well. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're enjoying these videos. Saying this really feels like an obligation at this point, so do it. Now Vertex has issued a declaration. No voice acting, interesting. Their final attack launches in 24 hours. Is this game taking place in, within a 24-hour time span? Last Raven starts off like most other AC games. Nope. No, it really doesn't. Out of all of the Armored Core games I had played up till this point, Last Raven was definitely the most unique one. And I mean this in a good way. The setup of the story and the delivery of information as to what is actually happening in the game world, new types of parts for your AC, the way the arena works, and so much more has been changed. Some of these changes might have already been introduced in the other games of the 3rd generation, but since I jumped from AC3 directly to Last Raven, I was really surprised to see so much change, especially after AC3 not really being all that different to the previous games. However, Last Raven has a similarity to Master of Arena, for example, in that you can start your playthrough with a save file from a previous game, which also seems to be the intended experience. But since I didn't play either Nexus or Ninebreaker, this option was off the table for me. I had to start from scratch, which definitely made this a more difficult game than it should have been. Upon first booting up Last Raven and seeing how different it was, I decided to take a look around all the different menus, and I tried to read the mails I would receive really carefully. The fact that this game was taking place within a 24-hour time span was really intriguing, but the way it then proceeds to relay information to you is equally as interesting. You not only know exactly what your end goal is right from the start, but you can also just have a casual look at all of the other AC pilots you might encounter on your journey. There's also a section in the menus called World Reports, which is this huge source of information on pretty much everything you'd want to know. Okay, so this is big lore. This is big lore time. This whole setup really reinforces the fact that you are already an established Raven, deeply woven into the power struggle at play here. One of the first mails you receive reads, "From Alliance HQ to John Raven, the one and only. There are 24 hours remaining until Vertex's declared time of attack. We should have taken care of the risk they presented long ago, but sadly we hesitated to act. Vertex cannot hope to match our access to resources, but the numerous Ravens in their employ do pose a threat. Victory is ours if we remove them from the equation." This one is shortly followed by a mail from what seems to be the bad guys of the story. Vertex to John Raven, overthrowing Alliance. At 3:50 hours, our forces took over the Diorgan Distribution Center. Capturing this facility greatly helps our cause. All Ravens know what our organization is capable of achieving. Those who refuse to cooperate with us will end up paying for this error with their lives. Time is running out. We sincerely hope you make the right decision. With my knowledge of how these games work, it was fairly simple to figure out that this game was going to have multiple routes and endings I could go for, depending on my actions and whose side I was going to take. But before I was going to do any of that, I mentioned earlier that the arena in this game works a bit differently. And oh boy, this was a tough one. Instead of being able to just fill up my bank account without having to worry about anything, I actually had to pay attention and couldn't just try stupid shit. Aw man, that sucks. Basically, they fixed the infinite money glitch of the previous arenas by making you pay a fee for actually participating in a fight. This means that if you're not careful, you can start to lose pretty significant sums of money. I'm getting flashbacks to Armored Core 1 in the best way possible right now. And since I basically had no equipment to start off with, this wasn't just an easy way for me to get strong quickly. Like I've said, this game ended up being one of the more difficult ones, not just through changes like these, mind you, but they definitely contributed towards it. Now, when it comes to how the game actually plays, it's fairly similar to AC3, but it chose a controlling scheme which I wasn't familiar with yet, so I made it extra hard on myself. I didn't just do this for fun, but rather to start getting used to these newer controls. This meant that for the early stages of the game, I was having trouble going for bunny hops and generally keeping up with the pace of combat. But at the end, I was happy that I decided to go with this approach, because actually being able to use the thumbsticks of my controller after all this time felt incredibly liberating. Even though I have to say that I was able to get used to the tank controls fairly well in the earlier games. Moving on to the game's missions, I, yet again, don't have much to say about them. Similarly to Armored Core 3, there wasn't that much new stuff they tried to do, but this game simply had some very solid missions and encounters. The most notable thing I should probably mention is that the game locks you out of completing many missions based on whichever route you take. You might have 5 different missions assigned to you at some point, only to lose access to 4 of them after completing the 5th one. Last Raven is a game that is truly meant to be played through multiple times, as it can also be a fairly short game if you actually know what you're doing. I have promised that I would come back to this one in the future to see some more of the endings and experience more of this interesting entry in the series, and I still plan on doing so eventually. But this is as far as I'm willing to talk about this game. What a journey this has been. This video officially concludes my series on my experiences with the so-called old gen of Armored Core. I didn't get to play every single game, but I think that the ones I picked here gave me a greater understanding of the history of this franchise. I really hope that you enjoyed this journey as much as I did. But don't you think that we are done yet? We've still got the newer generation of games ahead of us, and many other things that I've planned for the future. As always, a huge thanks to the people willingly funding this train wreck of a channel. You guys are truly wonderful. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next one.